Most companies have a GTM strategy, but very few have a GTM that actually gets the money. If your go-to-market feels like a series of broken spreadsheets and missed targets, it's time for a system update. Welcome to GTM, get the money live. I'm Chris Ryan and I'm Lee Parillo, your hosts, and we're here to install the operating system for your revenue. We're moving past the theory and getting into the high-stakes execution of what it takes to scale in 2020 fast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to GTM Get the Money. We are all about delivering revenue for growth and revenue for good. We sincerely believe when you bring revenue to good people and to good companies, they give back to the people around them. And there's no better example of giving back to people around them than Marissa Matting. I'd like to welcome her from EO Albany. She's the executive director. And before I let you say hello, I'm going to do a quick bio because I think this is interesting and it's going to kick us off. You've been an entrepreneur forever. Now you're leading an entrepreneur organization. What I found very interesting is you have a very unique background.
Yeah.
So you have a performance art background, which I didn't know until I read your bio. So talk to me about this just a little bit. Like you've worked with the NFL, presidential inaugurations.
Yes.
Like this is shocking to me. So let's start there because I think it's a good kickoff.
Sure. So started dancing in high school on the performance dance team, was captain of the dance team, went on to college, danced there. But while I was in that aspect, I performed at George W. Bush inauguration. I was a part of the elite dance team on the college Kilgore College Rangerettes, was on their elite dance team and got invited to the presidential inauguration, performed in Super Bowl halftimes and Cotton Bowl collegiate halftimes, the Dallas Cowboys performances. So I've had a lot of big performances that I've been in front of hundreds of thousands of people. And then was a part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for about 10 years as a performer and then as a staff person where I'd help bring high school kids to the New York City to put together a performance and then walk them down the Herald Square and have them perform as well.
That's wild. You've performed for presidents, for the Super Bowl halftime show, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Like that is insane. All right. So this is like, how did we get to EO from all of this journey? So you had businesses you ran.
Correct.
So I'll let you talk about that a little bit. And then you've made this journey from being artistic and now you're leading entrepreneurs, which I guess is science and art put together, we can say. But how did you get from there to here now?
Sure. My husband and I met shortly after while I was still coaching and teaching, and he has a very big entrepreneurial spirit. And he had this grand idea of wanting to help the community eat fresh foods. So he and I together worked with the USDA. We launched a aquaponics greenhouse program for the USDA. I guess I should back up. His parents wanted to retire. They owned a cattle farm, didn't want to run cattle for the rest of their life. So he and I developed a plan to turn a cattle field into an elderberry orchard, built greenhouses for them, then turned that into like an apothecary type situation. The USDA got wind of that and said, how do we turn this into a larger, national scale? Yeah. So we worked with them. It was a 12,000 square foot greenhouse where we produced lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, herbs, all kinds of things. And, we ended up writing their good agricultural practice audit, and then that launched nationally. So now there are other greenhouses across the U.S. that follow this plan that we created. It was an incredible journey. We had so many highs and lows, but as an entrepreneur, I learned so much. And, I did more of the operational side, more of the promotional, the marketing. So I got to put my artistic approach on things and bring the community in. I led educational programs. We brought schools in. We helped teach kids. At that point, I didn't realize kids didn't know where vegetables came from. So you got to teach these children where carrots grow and how they grow and where this lettuce comes from. So it was a really neat opportunity. We've developed a farmer's market where we had stands with produce on it that the neighbors were able to buy produce from. And so it was just we were in a very small rural community where the closest grocery store was a Walmart an hour away.
Oh.
So to be able to bring that into a community was really uplifting and fun. The business journey kind of developed. We helped some other farms build their greenhouses and build and develop their business. And then we saw a way to exit. And so we did. And that left us kind of not really sure what to do next. We realized we'd lived in a few different states on the central and the eastern or the western side of the country, but never been to the east side. So took a road trip up to the New England area and fell in love. For the first time in my life, I experienced all 4 seasons. So I said, we're going to stay here. So here we are. I worked in a few different jobs, just along the way, but didn't really find anything that I truly loved. And then EO fell into my lap. Excuse me. I met Mark Wagner. I worked for his law firm, and he said, "You're going to be perfect for EO. Let's bring you in." So because of the people that I knew and the network that I had the opportunity to come here, and probably one of the most rewarding and exciting jobs that I've been able to have.
That's a wonderful story. Couple things there. I want to unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
So how was your experience with the Four Seasons? Because I think, is that shocking?
It's incredible.
It is?
I grew up in Texas, so I grew up where Christmas was 90 degrees.
Okay.
So I didn't get to see snow as a kid. I never had snow days as a kid. It was always hot. Sometimes it's too hot. You have to go back inside. You can't spend time outside even in the summer or the winter. So being here is incredible. And I take advantage of the snow sports. I take advantage of the springtime. So I love having the diversity of seasons.
Yeah. I mean, we all love seasons too, but none of us really love February. That tends to be the negative. What I love about your story in general is it really just defines the entrepreneurial experience. Like every entrepreneur I talk to is eclectic, and they, you listen to your story, you've reinvented a business that your husband's parents owned. You reached out to new worlds after you came from performing arts. So it's not just about working in different parts of the business. It's about thinking differently, I think. And that's like what I love. And that's what I love about EO. Like I'm relatively new to the EO world, and it's really exciting to see, you brought me in. I think you were starting the same time I was starting, similar time, probably a little longer. But it's been a really unique group to put owners together and leaders. And, because our show is about revenue and about leaders and owners and companies, what do you see as like the number one thing that most members struggle with from an entrepreneurial or running their company? Like what do you see that's...
Sure. I really think two things are really important. I think scaling their business is huge. Everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants to do things well. So learning how to be effective and truly scale to be successful is something very important. But I also think, like you said, entrepreneurs, they're eclectic, they're different, they don't always fit in, so they feel isolated. And I think this organization breaks that barrier, and it allows them to not feel like they're the only crazy person in the room thinking of these brilliant ideas. So we bring these people together, and I think that just allows them to feel included and to bounce ideas, to finally have other people they can talk to about things. So isolation, as well as wanting to scale and grow.
As an entrepreneur myself, like I never really thought about that isolation being like you're kind of this lone soul where like you're talking and nobody understands your crazy brain and how things are happening. When I was first introduced to EO, it was about that. It's like, hey, you can tell us things. And at first I was like, wait a minute, I don't know you people. Like, I'm not just going to tell you like my deep, dark secrets and my fears. But as you become part of the community, because community seems to be a theme in your life and your career, like those get broken down quite a bit. And I'm an SAP, so not a member. It's a different structure. We'll talk about that in a second. But the two things, the isolation is a real key thing. The scaling thing, obviously, like these questions aren't on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about these things and what we're going to talk about because we want it to be valuable for you. So you're welcome. So scaling is a big thing. One thing you said in kind of the pre-interview process was, everybody thinks of scaling as like, we're not scaling fast enough. And you kind of said the opposite. You said, well, we help people scale faster, and then we help people slow down if they're scaling too fast, or know at least the pitfalls that are there. Do you want to talk about maybe that a little bit?
Sure. So in EO, there's a big umbrella around EO. So we have a Catalyst program, an Accelerator program, and then full-on EO membership. And those, to be a member of EO, you have to be a founder, an owner, or a majority shareholder, and you have to gross revenue of over $1 million. That's huge, and a lot of people find that really intimidating. So then we have the Catalyst program, which are founder, owner, shareholders who are at the $100,000 gross revenue mark, and the accelerators who are at the $250,000 to the $1 million mark. So what we do is we really focus on helping you scale authentically and appropriately. Being a business owner, I scaled really, really fast. It was really overwhelming, and I didn't feel like I had all the right tools in my belt to do it effectively. Did I succeed? Yes, but it was a lot harder than I think it should have been. So our founder of Entrepreneurial Organization, Vern Harnish, has written several books. One of them is it follows the Rockefeller Habits 2.0. And that's where we really focus on helping you with people, making sure you have the right people in the right places in your business. We help you focus on the strategic planning. You can write pages and pages and pages, but are your employees going to really read that, understand that? So we help you scale that to a one-page plan so that it can be understood by most people. We help you with the execution. So whether that's, how we can help you form those habits, those daily routines that your employees and people in your company can get behind and understand, and also help you track that growth. And then finally, we focus on cash. And that's how we can help you use that cash flow appropriately, how you can help it grow, and then without running out of capital, because that's always a huge problem. So we focus on those 4 pillars, and that, we have a 24 to 36 month plan. This is a proven strategy. We've had, for example, last year we had 17 members a part of the accelerator program, 10 of which at their 2-year mark were successful enough to move into that EO membership. So this is a global plan that we follow. We have trainers that come in that are specifically trained to help you scale with that. We have accountability coaches that meet with you monthly that help you stay accountable to your plans. So we really try to help you scale in the ways that are authentic to you and your business, because there's no one-fits-all program. Right. Everyone is different. Everyone's business is different. So we try really hard to help you achieve your goals in a good, timely manner, but also kind of push you along so that you can do it in a true timeline that can be effective for you and to keep your business rolling successfully.
Yeah, and I think that's so valuable, because you see startups and you see people that go at it alone. I went at it alone. I've opened a lot of businesses alone, and everybody that, like me, you make a billion mistakes, and things like simple things like from the cash day, like you don't even think about opening or getting a line of credit because you're just kind of hustling, and you're like, right, you're not going to make money for 3 years, and all these crazy things that happen when you start a business. But one of my favorite parts of EO is seeing the newer companies, the smaller companies grow. And it's really exciting because they have that entrepreneurial energy that, like, maybe some of us who have been in business a little bit longer, like, they lose that. And when I was fortunate enough to speak on one of your panels, I said that. I said, guys, like, don't lose what you have today, because you have your eye on the ball, you have the business. Like, once you get bigger, you get pulled away from the business. And then that's another problem that I think EO helps with. But I love Vern Harnish. I love that you guys adopt scaling up. I hope if you haven't read that book, it's still a phenomenal book. I think it was written in like 2014.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Don't quote me on that, but we'll say that. So, I mean, it's just really helpful. I think that let's talk about the programs a little bit, because not everybody's familiar with EO. Even during our pre-interview, I'm like, I don't really understand the difference of the programs. Sure. So, because you broke it down into 4 categories, there's 4 master classes, 1 a quarter, I would assume.
Correct.
Okay. And then how does the forum structure work? So I'm a SAP, which means the strategic alliance. So I just support, sponsor. They let us come in and help in our areas of expertise. But how does it work when you're a member in the forums? And what is the value that people are getting that helps them get to revenue and growing their business?
Sure. So in the other programs, the Catalyst and the Accelerator, we have accountability groups. There, like I said, you have a coach that comes in and you meet monthly with them, and they help you. What are your goals? How can you achieve them? And are you staying accountable? Once you move into full-on EO membership, we place you in what's called a forum. That's going to be 6 to 8 other entrepreneurs who are not in your industry. So you are the only industry in your forum, so that you can be very authentic about your problems and very open about what you're expressing. What we do is, to be in a forum, you have to go through a full day training, because we really want you to understand the value that you're getting out of it. We really want you to understand how to give. The more you give, the more you get out. So what we do in those forum meetings is we call it the 5%. So these are going to be topics that you're not going to go home and vent to your family about. You're definitely probably not going to talk to your employees about. If you're not able to make payroll, you're freaking out, but you can't show that to your staff. So now you can go to your group of 6 to 8 other entrepreneurs who most likely have already been through these experiences or who are going through it themselves. And so what they do is they talk, they experience, share. So that's one valuable thing that we focus on in EO is no one's going to offer you advice. No one's going to tell you what to do, but they are going to share their experiences and how they succeeded with that, or they maybe failed with that. So that way you can take away what you need for your business. Again, everyone is different. So you're going to take things differently, then be like, hey, this might actually work for my company. So you can take that back and try it. Then you can go back to that forum and say, that really worked. Thank you. Or that didn't work. I need to brainstorm again with you. And then this is where the value of strategic alliance partners comes in. Say the forum meets, multiple people in that forum are having, say, an HR issue, and they're all experiencing it. No one really has an experience to share. So we bring in a strategic alliance partner who is a professional in HR who can hear what's happening, and she can offer, or they can offer their opinions because of their expertise, or whether that's marketing, bringing you in to talk about, nobody knows who we are. How do I get my name out there? So that's what we really use our strategic alliance partners. we bring them in, but it's really about the experience sharing. And it's really about deep diving and talking about those really uncomfortable situations that you're not going to talk to anyone else, because my experience when I vented to my friends, I would usually hear, "You're taking things too seriously. Quit freaking out. It's going to be fine." But you're like, my life is on the line right here.
Right.
My finances are on the line right now, and they don't understand. So now you're talking to people who truly understand what you're going through and can share their experiences so that you can gain and grow and continue to scale or continue to be successful.
It is a nice team to have these conversations. And again, I've seen the forums from the outside, but I've been in other forums. What I love about EO, and if you don't know EO, honestly, like, it's a global organization. We were talking about how cool all the global events are. But the community itself they're incredibly supportive. And you have people that are doing tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that are talking to people that are doing 100,000. And it's just the value in the knowledge. And it's not just because they made that much money that they know more. They're just more experienced, likely.
Sure.
So they can help you, again, avoid some of those pitfalls. But the community itself, I've heard this over and over and over again every time I'm at networking events. You can go to any city in the world that has a chapter, and you can just call somebody and they will drop what they're doing if they're part of this community. Now, there's a lot of communities out there now. Like, I've been a part of a few of them. Most of them are good and most of the people are supportive, but I think EO is unique.
Yeah.
And it's one of these ones that I've been dancing around the outside for a few years, and then I have strategic partners locally that they're like, you got to get in. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And now I love it. Now I'm on the inside, and you get to see. But I'm just saying, like, the point is I think the community is something that, I don't know if it's understated, but I don't think it's something you discover until you get involved.
Correct.
there.
Yeah. It's the stories I hear are incredible, but you're exactly right. So perfect examples. We had an EO member, him and his family were traveling to another country. He went onto the online portal and said, "Who's in this area?" Reached out to a few different people. Someone picked him up from the airport. Another member took him out to dinner. And then this gentleman who was traveling with his family, the child was getting ready to go into college. And so they were doing some college tours, but they ended up connecting with an EO member who was a part of this collegiate organization, and then was able to connect this student to programs that she never would have had the opportunities to connect. So it doesn't only affect you as an entrepreneur, it can affect you and your whole family. And it's so genuine to see. Like, we're getting ready to travel to Dublin, Ireland, and we have all these little chats that are going on, and just people who are local to Dublin are reaching out saying, whatever you need, if you need suggestions, if you need help with transportation, let us know. And so it allows you to have more fun without feeling so much stress, because if you have a problem, you've got a community to call, and they're going to, like you said, drop what they're doing to help you, because they're in your same shoes. They understand, they've done what you're doing. So it's a really genuine community, and that's really nice to be a part of.
And I think, like, putting this in perspective, like, the community is awesome. Everybody's super supportive, but these are not people that are working 9-to-5 jobs.
Right.
These are people running companies that are stopping what they're doing to help. So, right or wrong, whatever you believe, like, I think that is a testament to the organization and the fact that somebody can just drop what they're doing, because we're all too busy and we all have crazy schedules, to be able to help somebody out. And I love the family side of this and how that connects to, because most businesses on the planet are SMBs. And I think most people are all struggling to get to that $1 million mark.
Sure.
And I think from your strategy day, I think I learned 3%, 3 to 4% of all businesses in the US just hit $1 million.
Right.
So it's not an easy thing. And everybody's like, you see the tech hubs and you see all these AI platforms now, and everybody's just making billions of dollars. You're like, well, wait a minute, I'm just trying to get to $1 million, but it's a real struggle.
Sure.
And then it's a real struggle to get from 1 to 10. I think it's like a
even smaller percentage.
Yeah, it's like a 100x factor or something crazy. Again, I'm making these numbers up.
You're close. You're close.
Are there any shining examples in EO that you were like, you mentioned people have graduated through different programs, and you don't have to say name or anything. Is there anything that you can share that's like shocking, or just like you didn't expect that when you went in to take the position?
What I've really appreciated a lot is that, like you said, those younger entrepreneurs that come in, they have a different energy, and that resonates with our more tenured members. And those tenured members want to help. They want to be a part of. And so what I find most gratifying to see is that you see these new entrepreneurs come in, they go to the networking events, and they just start talking to these people who have done this so many times. And then you watch their businesses scale because of the entrepreneurs that have been here. They need their business services as well. And so watching that community just support, it's tremendous. And so I see people who scale quicker because of the networking that they've done, the time that they put in. You know, we laugh and say that EO is a gym, not a spa. You have to build your own gym bag. You have to bring your own gym bag. So I've watched entrepreneurs who are in the accelerator program who come in scared, who come in intimidated, and then after a year, just they're shining, they're thriving, they're putting themselves out there, and watching that personal growth is, in my opinion, one of the most gratifying things to see. Am I shocked by it? I'd say no, just because now that I've met these people, I understand how capable they are and how influential they are. So, but to see that support, I have never seen that in any other program I've been a part of. So it's humbling to watch, and to watch people who have been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years see these brand new people and want to dive in and really help and really give to them so that they can grow and scale.
Yeah. And the value here, I think, is the reinforcement to help them grow revenue. So it takes scaling up, for example, right? Like, I read the book. I've been trying to implement. I downloaded the sheets, on Vern's site, and we try that, but without the reinforcement and somebody that's like, even if they're in the same industry as you, just giving you a different perspective, be like, let's look at this a little bit differently. And I think that's a nice value of this organization. But the fact that you have processes built in, and let's be fair, most entrepreneurs aren't process people; they're visionary people. But I think you help them, right?
Exactly. And that's when with the Catalyst and the Accelerator. Having the accountability coach. So we have EO members who will come in and sit with them once a month. And just like I said, they say, what are the goals? Are these achievable goals? Okay, maybe that might be too unrealistic. Let's bring it down and make it a realistic goal. And then what are the steps that we can take? And so to watch that support is just, it's so impressive, because again, if they wouldn't have had that experience, they wouldn't know how to guide these younger entrepreneurs. But me as a business owner, if I would have known about EO, like when I first started, it's the best kept secret. I'm like, why are we keeping this a secret? Let's help these people. So my mission as the executive director is to get us out there, to let people know who we are, because I could have done things differently as a business owner if I would have had that support. So I think it's incredible to watch, and, to see during the actual masterclass days, they sit with their accountability coaches come to that. So again, they're taking a whole day out of their business to go work with these entrepreneurs, these younger entrepreneurs, and they sit there and they help them. We have pre-work. It's a little bit of work that they do prior, so that when you come to the masterclass, you have ideas on what your goals are going to be, because when you're put on the spot, you're grabbing. So this actually gets very thoughtful, and that's what we try to be, is very purposeful. And so the accountability coach is there guiding them through the class, helping them be coming up with realistic goals. And it is such an impressive program.
Yeah, it's cool. How do people get started if they want to get into EO? Like I typically ask people, like, what's the number one takeaway? But maybe in this case, like, if I'm considering EO, do we come to a free event? Do you talk to a member? Like, how do you do it if you're on the outside and you're just like, I want to know what this is all about?
Yeah. There's so many ways. And that's what's also really awesome about this. So we have a website, eoalbany.org. Check that out. It kind of walks you through all the different programs. There's also a calendar of events. My contact information is there, so you're always welcome to reach out to me. I can put you in contact with current members so they can share their experiences, because there's a membership fees. It can be a little overwhelming and intimidating, but when you hear how it's impacted and changed lives, like, you get excited about that. So, but as someone who's a prospect, yes, we invite you to events. So I try to meet with you one-on-one. I try to figure out what your goals are. And then is it a networking event that I want to invite you to? Is it a masterclass? We have learning events where we bring professionals from all over the world to talk about topics that are hot right now that our members want to learn about. So I will curate basically a step line to get you into the program and to make sure it's what you want. And we want you to be a good fit for us, but we want to make sure we're a good fit for you as well. So it starts with just sending an email, connecting on LinkedIn. I post social media all week long on LinkedIn. So follow EO Albany on either LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and you'll see what we're up to and what we're doing. And then that way, whenever something sounds of interest to you, you can reach out.
One thing we talked about, which I thought was really generous of you, I said, because we're a global podcast, we said, well, what about people that are outside of Albany? And you said, the first thing, you're like, just have them contact me. I was like, oh, you don't want to put them in the info at EO? And you're like, no, just have them contact me, and I'll connect them to anywhere in the world, to any chapter. So, like, I believe, I don't want to use your words, but I think you said it's, this concierge personalized experience.
Sure.
So it's right for them. And I think that's a good touch point for most businesses that are, as soon as you invite somebody in your business, whether it's an employee or a client, that first touch point is so important. So just 30 seconds, what do you think about, like, how can people do that so they can just reach out to you and then you will
Absolutely.
interview them? You'll just
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of depends on where you are and where you are in your business. But yeah, exactly. I have the ability to connect with there's over 200 chapters globally. So I have the ability to connect with each one of those chapter staffs. And what I would do is kind of figure out where you're located, where you are in your gross revenue. And then I can make sure I connect you, give that warm handoff to the right person, because those warm handoffs, it's all about who you know. And if I can reach out if I can take 5 minutes to say, hey, I'd like to connect you to this person. And then they immediately jump on and say, hi, welcome. And then they can take it from there and kind of figure out exactly, where you fit into the rest of the program.
Yeah, that's a testament to the community. I love that. So we always have a mystery question. And this is not in the pre-interview, ladies and gentlemen. So, and I think this is funny for an executive director, because EO is very much about experience sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mantra, right? You don't tell. You have a bunch of type A personalities that are just, we all want to tell you the solution because we all think we know it. But if experience sharing is such a core fundamental tenet of the organization, as an executive director, I assume it's probably pretty hard to walk that line with a bunch of type A entrepreneurs. If you had a pass, say you had a 24-hour pass, what's the one piece of advice you would give to entrepreneurs that we won't hold you to help them grow their business or scale or anything we talked about today?
Yeah, I recommend be vulnerable. I think if maybe I'm hoping I'm answering your question correctly, but be vulnerable, put yourself out there, try new things, do things that make you uncomfortable, because that's when you realize where your limits are and where you can grow. And, you might surprise yourself. So put yourself out there and try something new.
That's the hardest thing. In EO, that would have been an experience share. I've seen this happen and this help people. But no, I like that. All right, so be vulnerable. And that's a hard thing to do. Like, it was my very first experience. I was like, I am not comfortable doing this, and I'm pretty comfortable in a room. So, okay, be vulnerable. They can find you on LinkedIn. They can find you in EO Albany. You can look EO up globally. There's plenty of events. There's some really amazing events, like the Dublin event and the conferences. So if you want to explore those too, there's all these different components. But Marissa Matting, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. This has been GTM Get the Money with Marissa Matting of EO Albany. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We go